guys, what's happening? Dustin Dolby here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to run you through my workflow for how to photograph and recreate a really simple TRESemmé-esque studio product photography look, just using entry-level gear and stuff you may have laying around the house. Bright, vibrant, glow to it, and almost a silky quality. That's how I would describe my hair since using all this. But no, I'm describing the image and the lighting aesthetics that we're going to produce using Speedlights. And you can use any lights. A lot of hair brands seem to frolic in this contrasty look. And I'm sure higher end brands using really expensive studio lights, but you can build these up with Speedlights. They're essentially a back glow away from just being black catalog product photography. And a bit of real estate, enough for each product to get lit. We can always lift the bottle if we want to do a quick comp, if they're blocking each other, but it looks okay here. And just make sure the nozzle is straight as well as the caps. And on this one, that involved getting a little loose, but that's okay, because that's just a little 2mm Photoshop, but at least we'll have that head on. And that'll give us a good base. So we're kind of taking from its like Walmart origins to an expensive French boutique vibe, and I'm enjoying that so far. And I'll link everything below you need to create this exact setup, but this is what I'm gonna start with as a nice minimalist base. So one strip box, 8 by 36 inches, a YN 563 Speedlight in the back of it. And another. So now we are symmetrical. Like, look at this label. We want it somewhat uniform, and right now it's like radically bright and radically dull. And we want it radically right in the middle. So now we'll just bring in 2 of these nylon diffusers. I'm not even going for the expensive ones, just these little discs that everyone has, and I'll link them below. Go ahead and clamp those on light stands. And this takes a few light stands. It's good to have a few, but now we've created a bit of a channel that we can shoot through. And the purpose of creating this sort of walled channel is the diffusers are gonna catch the light that the strip boxes were kind of underwhelmingly shooting out at the matte product. And they're gonna do it a lot more justice, particularly here. Ignore the flare because it's killing our contrast. But particularly in the label area. Like, this almost looks ready to rock in the label, whereas before it looked like a bit of a freak show. So a quick tip to people all over the world: if light is getting in your lens and killing your contrast, you want to retain that beautiful contrast. So let's cut something out like this. We cut this out of paper, and it's a little window. It's pretty adorable, actually. It's gonna go in front of our DSLR and just block that unwanted light. And let me show you the difference. The flag is literally blocking it there, but it's giving us a window in what we need to see, and it's retaining us a lot more contrast. The benefit of having everything static is you can make little adjustments, little A/B tests. A/B. So the label is getting a little hot on the left, and I just went to correct that. And you can see by the symmetry of the padding of the edge of these highlights, they're actually pretty symmetrical, and I'm enjoying that. So for a back glow, I used to do a lot of natural back glows using a grid, and I have tons of videos on my channel about doing that. Let me just show you a quick example, because something you'll notice when you do back glows. Just as an example, you see how this differs once it's cut out. Obviously, we'd need to bring in something smooth in the background if we wanted to do this in camera. And lately, I've kind of grown to love the contrast, the richness, and the saturation you can get from doing digital gradients. So just masking out my products and invoking a radial gradient behind the products. I'll run you through the pros and cons of this and a bit of my post-production workflow, but this frees up another light, which is pretty magical. So I'll take the grid off this and we'll just do a digital solution, bear in mind. But if I want to bounce this off the wall, maybe we could run through a few different values. Like, I'll start at 1/32 power, literally just shooting it backwards off the white wall. And I'll scan up, 1/16, 1/8. But I'm just going to bring it into A, improve the brightness of the white bottles, and B, I'll zoom into this so you can really see, improve the color. I really think you should capture one more exposure, and it's just reflecting light in the front of your scene using a reflector card. And this may surprise you at the effect it has. It certainly surprised me. I mean, we have this dark band in the bottom labels, and naturally it's just caused by lighting from the left and right. Well, look at the difference. That's reflecting from the bottom. It completely makes up the difference in the point where even if you were to centrally brighten it with a curves layer, you're not going to be catching ISO and grain as if you corrected it from here. You're going to start with a more uniform place to edit, and that's our next step. So drop a like on this video, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and I will meet you in post-production and we'll run you through this. All right, so here we are inside of Photoshop. We have our base frame, which is the lucrative label reflection, and then we have the ceiling bounce, which is a nice little accent light. So let's grab both of these frames because we're going to composite and group them. So Control G. Now to put this beautiful color splash gradient behind, I'm going to need to make a selection, which I already made. But you can use the pen tool, which is really professional. It does curves very well, or you can use the polygonal lasso tool, which is no problem. Just hit L to bring that up on your keyboard or hit this button. And with the polygonal lasso, you can take advantage of big runs like that and then be a little more resolute around the corners and zoom in more than I am here. I'm just being crude. But yeah, you can take advantage of the really straight edges and you can get a really tight selection if you take a few minutes to do it with the polygonal lasso tool. So I took a moment to do that. And once you have that selection, simply with your grouping selected, hit this button down here, which will mask out your grouping, so now you're omitting everything. And notice that I am including my reflective surface, which we're going to fade out in a moment. But let's get the gradient behind this so we can see what we're looking at. So I already have a color in the foreground, and I got that from actually sampling a color from the cap. You can hit I to bring up your eyedropper and grab an on-brand color, and that's another benefit of doing it digitally, right? So I'm going to hit G to bring up my gradient tool. Foreground to transparent, it's a radial gradient. Again, I'm on a layer in between a black solid and my products, my content. And behind it, I'm going to simply do a radial gradient. And that's looking nice and cozy. So let's start benefiting from our ceiling frame. I'm going to put it above the other frame and hold Alt and click this button. That'll create a black mask. So now it's omitted everywhere. But we can click on the mask, hit B to bring up our brush, and I want to get a big white brush. That's feathered. And I want to just paint this layer in these areas. So I'm painting white into the mask, which is revealing the layer where I want it to be revealed. Maybe we'll go into lower flow and reveal it a bit in this cap just because it kind of improved the color. And up here, if you look at this, it'll give it a little bit of life. Yeah, I think that helped. And notice I included the reflections with that. So let's make a new layer above everything, and we'll make it black. Hit G to bring out our gradient tool, and we'll do a linear foreground to transparent. And I'm going to be really specific here. I'm going to click the point where our reflection ends as the start point, hold Shift so my line is straight, and I'll end it before the products begin. That gives me a safe cutoff. That gives me a safe cutoff just knowing my products are fading to black. Even if you zoomed in and increased the brightness, it's going to organically fade off at a certain point, which I like. I think this label is maybe 15% brighter than this other label. So I'm going to make a curves layer above everything. I click this button down here and selected a curves layer. I'm going to make it a bright curve layer, but then click the mask and Control I invert it. So now we have a brightening effect, but it's not applied anywhere. I'm going to click the mask again with a white feathered brush, and a low flow is absolutely fine. And I'll just subtly paint this in the middle of the label a little and just try to get it more to where the other one was visually. Maybe I'll reduce that a bit. And even if I was unsatisfied with both the labels and I wanted to adjust them, I'd still try to get them to a uniform place before adjusting that. I'm noticing a weird line here, and I'm not sure if I moved something over or if there was an error when I was selecting, but I'm going to fix that. I'll actually do it really quick just in this grouping. I'll make a new layer. I'll sample the edge color from here. I can hold Shift. I'm at 33% flow. I want to go full Nelly. And that looked a little fake. Let me grab a better color. And just feather it at the edges, just so there's no black. And I'll hold Shift. Okay, so now I'm going to actually flatten everything a bit just to make it simpler to edit. So I'm going to actually duplicate this grouping just to be safe. And I'm going to apply a slight feather to the selection just so it's a little softer at the edges, which looks natural. And I'm going to apply this layer mask, but first I'm going to merge the group. Control E, and then I'll just apply that layer mask. So now I have a flattened version of everything we just did, and that can do a couple things. I'm going to lower this cap, first of all, because I know that's bothering us. I'll just grab this cap, maybe with a feathered selection. And I'm going to hit Control J. And that just duplicated the cap on its own layer. And with this tool selected, the move tool, I'm going to tap down on my keyboard. And I'm looking over here just to kind of match it, even if it needs removed a little bit. Okay, that looks somewhat matched, and obviously it's revealing itself behind it. So on the layer behind, create a mask with this button. This is the original layer. Hit B and get a black brush and just omit the bottle up there. Okay, so you can see where it used to be and where it is. We kind of lowered it. And if I wanted that to be omitted, just where it's transitioning here, it looks a little off. I'm going to hit the mask button, get out the black brush, and even on a low flow, I can start to blend it subtly between itself and make it look a little more natural. That's great. I won't go too into it, but another application we can do is this cap here. I paid no attention to this side of the cap, but we could grab something like this from our original layer, hit Control J. So again, that isolates it. On this layer, Control T, right click, flip horizontal. I'm going to zoom in here. Just try to make this sit pretty. There's a shadow and a really bright spot. So again, I'm going to make a layer mask, click the mask, get the black brush, and just kind of start to omit it over here, just so it blended in a little more naturally. What do you think? Manufacturing is not perfect. I might even grab a label that looks kind of wonky, like this label. And again, I thought I was doing this with feather. I'm not doing this with feather. Let's say maybe you want to apply a couple pixels of feather here, depending on how good your selection is. You might even Control J to isolate a label like that, Control T, and then holding Control to get a subtle sort of pull, you can adjust it. And I didn't adjust that very well. But just to show you a quick A/B, really small tweaks like that, because sometimes manufacturing isn't straight in and of itself. I made a few more tweaks to get this where it is, like you see now, but that was pretty much my base edit. Thanks for watching our channel as usual. This was kind of a fun look to do. It's a really simple look. Like I said, leave your questions below, get at me. My name's Dustin Dolby. Take care.